You can determine if a graph is the graph of a relation, a function, or a one-to-one function just by doing a couple of simple tests. Stick around and I'll tell you all about it. Welcome to Math Bytes. I'm Allison, and today we're talking about the vertical and horizontal line tests. The vertical line test tells us if our graph is the graph of a function. If any vertical line drawn through the graph intersects the graph only one time, then the graph is the graph of a function. The horizontal line test tells us if the graph of a function is also a one-to-one function. If any horizontal line drawn through the graph of a function intersects the graph only one time, then it's the graph of a one-to-one function. Let's take a look at some graphs and use the vertical line test to determine if they're graphs of functions. You always want to start with the vertical line test to see first if you have the graph of a function. Then you can move on to the horizontal line test to see if it's also the graph of a one-to-one function. Okay, so I have my graphs here, A, B, C, and D, and now I'm going to draw some vertical lines through these graphs. Now, you'll notice for graphs A, C, and D, the vertical lines intersect the graph only one time. But on graph B, when I draw vertical lines through it, they intersect the graph more than one time. So therefore, we can say that graphs A, C, and D are the graphs of functions. But graph B is the graph of a relation because the vertical lines intersect the graph more than one time. All right, now we have here the graphs of our functions from the previous section. Let's use the horizontal line test to determine if they are one-to-one functions. All right, so I've drawn some horizontal lines here through our graphs. And you'll notice on graphs A and D, the horizontal lines are intersecting the graphs more than one time. So those are the graphs of functions, but they're not one-to-one functions. Now, on graph C, you'll notice that the horizontal lines intersect the graph only one time. Therefore, graph C is the graph of a one-to-one function. So by doing this little test, we can determine that graphs A and D are the graphs of functions, but not one-to-one functions. And graph C is the graph of a one-to-one function. The vertical and horizontal line tests are really handy. If you have an equation and you're trying to determine if it's a function, or you know it's a function and you're trying to determine if it's a one-to-one function, you can always plot some points and draw a quick graph, and then use the vertical or horizontal line test to determine if it's a function or if it's a one-to-one function. That's it for this episode of Math Bytes. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel. And if there's something you'd like to ask us, just send us an email. We're at contactmathbytes@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.